So I've been playing the TemTem Alpha here recently, and I actually hadn't heard of it until about a week ago, so I thought I'd test it out. It's currently available for a limited amount of time on the Discord store, and when it releases it'll be on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC. Now the first thing you probably realize is that TemTem looks an awful lot like Pokemon, and really I don't think we can get around that. I don't usually like to do huge comparisons to other games and reviews like this, but TemTem has evolutions, towns, gyms, legendary TemTems, wild monsters and grass, and even the capture mechanic looks extremely similar to Pokemon. It pretty much is a clone of Pokemon, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it does have its differences as well, such as it focuses on double battles rather than single. Your TemTems also have a stamina bar, which if it is depleted during the battle, your TemTem will then hurt itself due to exhaustion. I'm not really sure if I like the stamina aspect, but it does force you to use multiple monsters rather than just powering through like you do in Pokemon games. And that right there is one of the first differences I did notice with TemTem, is that it is a harder game, and I found myself heading back to heal my TemTem much more than I do in Pokemon. And whereas I can go an entire playthrough without my entire party fainting in Pokemon, it already has happened numerous times in TemTem for me, which is something that I actually do enjoy. I like the harder gameplay that's in this game. There's also synergies where specific typings may work better with each other, so it adds a whole new layer to the strategy. See, I've been playing Pokemon since the original Red and Blue, and I can't tell you how huge of a part Pokemon has played in my life, and even today I continue to play the franchise. I also really enjoy the competitive side of Pokemon, so I understand some of the deeper intricacies that maybe the casual fan doesn't really understand. With all that said, TemTem really seems to be aiming for that side of the Pokemon community. It has things such as EVs, egg hatching, and while I haven't really seen held items just yet, when I asked the TemTem community, they did say that held items are in the game as well, so the amount of strategies used can be absolutely endless. Now there's actually 160 TemTems, I believe, that's going to be in this game, which is, 10 more than the original Pokemon game. So if 160 is fine with you, that's another thing to look at. Now I know Pokemon now has I want to say close to 1,000, so, but obviously TemTem is new, and Pokemon's been around for like 20 years, so, anyways. But yeah, it is an MMO after all, so it's obviously aimed at the multiplayer aspect, and this is something that I really like about TemTem. Sure, it can be a little jarring that you have all these other trainers just roaming around, but it does make the world feel more alive. And something else you'll notice is that the actual design of the monsters in TemTem are actually pretty well done. I've seen a lot of Pokemon clones over the years, and that really seems to be the downfall to many of them, is that the monsters just aren't really that interesting. Now with that said, I can't say that I've been drawn to the world of TemTem as much as, let's say, a Pokemon game. I mean, the world itself is okay, and it offers different areas to explore with their own unique styles, but it just didn't give me that magical feeling that Pokemon gives me. Again though, the world still looks really nice, and I love walking through the grass discovering new monsters. Again, the monsters, they look great. And it's important to remember it is just an alpha, and I'm only playing a very small part of the game, so a lot of this can change once I play the full version. Now this is just me, but I don't exactly care for the player models either. There's an emphasis on customization which I really like a lot, but I just wasn't really feeling it. I mean, I've seen people make characters like Goku from the Dragon Ball universe, so maybe I just suck at customization, but from the options in the alpha, I wasn't exactly feeling it personally. Everybody seems to have colored hair, including the NPCs, and there was times that the NPCs didn't fit their descriptions. As an example, I couldn't tell the difference between a mother and daughter. I mean, it is an alpha, and maybe all that'll change. You can unlock new clothes and styles by buying them in shops across the world, so I'm excited to see what they do with all this at the very least. I will say that the NPCs in TemTem, though, is much more in-depth than your typical Pokemon game. At times, they will give you side quests, but generally each NPC has something to converse about, and you can actually respond to them like you would in an RPG. There was moments that you could throw in humor in with these conversations, and it made it charming, but I was a little let down when I saw NPCs curse. I don't really mind cursing in games per se. I mean, I know this is aimed for some of the older Pokemon fans, but there was just something about the cursing that threw me off in this game. That's really just me nitpicking though, but on the opposite spectrum, I liked how your rival is a jerk similar to Red and Blue. Now the more recent Pokemon games are more about friendship and love, but as a competitive person, I've always liked beating Gary as a kid, or Trainer Blue depending on how you want to look at him, and showing him who was boss, but that's just me. The typings are also relatively easy to understand with your basics such as water, fire, grass, fighting, psychic, and so on and so forth, but they change the names to things like nature for grass and mental for psychic. You can also have dual types, which I greatly appreciated. Again, the more strategy you can use, the better. It also allows trading, and I believe the entire game can actually be played in co-op as well. It's just these little things, and I think that while TemTem, yes, is a clone of Pokemon, it's a very good one. And if you don't have a Nintendo Switch, TemTem might actually be a good substitute when it releases. I know right now it's only available in the Discord store, and it's $35, so if you really don't want to play the alpha, I just recommend getting it on Steam or whatever platform you do want to play it for when it releases. From my understanding, they do want to do cross-platform with all platforms, though as we all know that doesn't always work the way developers want it to. Like I said earlier though, I've seen a lot of Pokemon clones, but this one really is different. There is a lot to like here, and it does have some differences to Pokemon. I'd definitely recommend TemTem, and it's worth paying attention to at the very least. I mean, I know I'm enjoying it, so I think that as a Pokemon fan, if you like the Pokemon franchise and you want to just try something different, I absolutely think that TemTem is worth it. I think it's really good, actually. Let me know what you all think, though, and if you have tried it out, I would love to hear what your all's opinions on TemTem is as well. But yeah, if you liked the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Peace out.